This is Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance on the Central Coast. Today we are joined by Bob Kelley. He is a council member in Atascadero in San Luis Obispo County. A lot of cross currents on the issue of homelessness. You're a leader on the question. You have been for quite some time. We had the recent count come out suggesting homelessness was down in San Luis Obispo County, but we know in other parts of the state homelessness is up. What's your sense of where we are with the homeless crisis, sir?
Well, it is a crisis, and I think the recent count that we had, there's some questions whether the accuracy of it, because
really,
all of the people that are associated in the program saying, well, we got way more than that. And the federal government comes out and has guidelines and everything that you have to follow in order to get the grants and everything. So I think our problem is probably greater than what was revealed in that count.
But what was interesting about the critics of the count is the count indicated that overall homelessness was down 31%, veterans homelessness down 45%. That's not a rounding error. It seems as if, you know, it's one thing if it said it was down 5%, that could be a rounding error, but not 31%.
Right. I think they only take one day and they count.
They do, that is accurate.
And, you know, I've conferred with our police department up in town who's very active in the homeless situations, and the problem is bigger than what was revealed.
So let's talk about that then, because we know that when we look at the state of California, the statistics are daunting when we consider homelessness. I learned recently that while California has 12% of the total U.S. population, we have 21% of the homeless population. The chronic homelessness is rising in California. When you think about our larger counties, LA, San Diego, tremendous homeless numbers. So even though we are today in a smaller county, like you said, it appears the crisis is real. Where do we go with this issue? The state Senate is proposing a bond, $2 billion bond to address homelessness. Democrats and Republicans supporting. Do you have a sense as to whether we need to start looking at state solutions?
Oh, we definitely need to look at solutions. It's a problem. And I was in the home building business for years.
Right.
And you know, I put most of the blame on government.
Explain.
The bureaucracy, the fees, and everything else that goes along with it takes forever to get these projects approved.
So are you focused on the affordable housing element of it, because that presumably could decrease the homeless population?
Yes, that's correct. We have a self-help project up in our town that was completed here about 6 months ago or a year. And in order to pay all of the different fees, water meters, what have you, it was $48,500 for a 1,300 square foot house, accounted for 40 to 45% of the cost of the house.
So what can be done? Is that a county question or is that a state question?
Well, I think it's to everybody. I mean, it would start
or a city question for that matter.
Well, it starts right in our city. I mean, we have the ability to reduce these fees, streamline the process, and what have you. We're getting a little bit better at it, but there's always room for improvement.
With regard to what you just described, was that an affordable housing unit or was that just a market rate?
It was a self-help.
So that means a version of...
That's probably one of the better projects out there because it's a sweat equity deal where the families come in.
I mean, if you're saying it cost about $100,000 to build and $48,000 goes to fees?
Right. 40 to 45%. And these jurisdictions are raising their fees all the time to, you know, take care of their lifestyle, I guess.
So could a bond help on that front?
Well, it's all about money. You need to have the money to do it. And, you know, when the money comes down, it's what percentage of that money actually goes towards the problem.
I want to shift gears, if I may, sir, because on the flip side of the homeless question is the employment question. And obviously, if we can increase employment prospects, there's no doubt that our homeless crisis should be addressed at a certain level.
Right.
If people have jobs, presumably they can get into homes, although we know even rentals are very expensive. In your fair city of Atascadero, you are taking steps to create more jobs. Yes. And it may seem parochial, but look, every little bit counts. And we have 3 new restaurants coming online in Atascadero. It's exciting, and I want to get a sense of how have you been able to bring these restaurants in and what it does for your community.
Well, I think Atascadero's been lacking in opportunities, but since all these other communities around us are growing, the opportunities are abound in Atascadero. So we have Marston's, which has a current facility in San Luis Obispo, is building a new facility next to our Holiday Inn, about 2,500 square feet, kind of like a pub grill with a little...
Isn't Marston's, it's on Higuera in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah,
I've been there. It's
yeah,
very tasty.
Yeah, very nice. And then the two guys that have the Guest House Grill in Atascadero are starting Street Side Al, which is right downtown in the Carlton area. I was in there the last couple days and provided you some pictures. I think that's going to be the hot spot of town. And then we just recently opened up the Kochi Korean barbecue. I went there for dinner the other night. It's quite an experience, and I think we'll get a lot of people from San Luis past Robles come in there and hopefully have dinner and go over to our theaters, which are the nicest in town. And then we have the other one, you know, the Spring Suite Marriott Hotel opened up on the north end of town. And they just have a wonderful lounge in there and a restaurant, which is really getting quite a bit of activity in the afternoons.
How have you been able to do this? We know that bringing in new business is really it's the gold standard for a council member. If you can help lure business, a few years back you had a tool called redevelopment.
Right.
You can offer appropriate and incentives to these folks to try to lure them from Paso or San Luis Obispo or Monterey. You don't have that anymore.
Well, you can work it. The 1 year that I was the mayor when we had the rotation deal, I was instrumental in putting the Marriott Hotel together.
But what did you do? I mean, look, this is the Central Coast. It's attractive, but there are a lot of attractive parts of the Central Coast. And so how is it that you're able, I'm looking for the secret sauce.
Well, you have to sell your product. Once again, you know, I built custom homes for years. I've been in the real estate deal, and you have to put a good product together at a fair price. And that'll make it work. At the hotel, we put some deferred fee structures in, and that basically made the deal go through. And the other ones is, in the last couple of years, our planning department has actually gotten a lot better in streamlining the process and what have you. We have a new city manager. I think we have a whole new different outlook of we really do want you to come to town, and what can we do to help you to come here.
I want to shift gears and talk about Mother Nature. She is being kind. One could argue we've had a 4-year drought, and now we're in the midst of an El Nino. I think about North San Luis Obispo County, very reliant on agriculture, even in your communities and surrounding communities. How are you managing with these storms that are welcomed, but at a certain level feared?
Well, I think in Atascadero we've done pretty well. I mean, we realized months ago that this was coming, and our street department has gone out and we've cleaned up all the gutters and everything else, and we've had minimal problems during the last couple of rains. I think we had a tree or something to come down, but nothing significant, no flooding that I know of.
The flip side, though, sir, is that even though we are experiencing rains, we would need 3 times the amount of rain that we would expect this year to make up for the last 4 years of drought. If we're lucky, we'll get 2 times the amount of rain on average. So we are not out of the woods. And so I ask you, as a leader in your city, how are you still speaking with your constituents to remind them that we still need to move forward with conservation measures? I mean, the communities in San Luis Obispo County have done quite well. I'm pulling some papers because I know that they've done quite well in terms of conservation. You know, I think, Atascadero had a conservation target in November of 28%. It met the target with almost 30%.
We're really very fortunate. Our water company is a private company.
Yes.
And we, without getting into a whole bunch of different detail, our aquifer is separated from the Paso Robles ones that you have heard. And we were one of the first ones to hook up to the Nacimiento water line. And we also have the accommodations to use that water, where a lot of other cities didn't.
But you still need to conserve.
Our wells went up 5 inches.
When?
Just during the last year. Because we take the Nacimiento water, we put it down into the ground and suck it back up. So I would say we might be the best community in the state as far as water conservation and taking care of it.
He is Bob Kelley. He is a council member in Atascadero. I'm Brad Pomerance. This is Charter Local Edition.